This is mathematical literacy paper one, grade 11. We are going to start by looking at the information, the instructions that we are given in particular according to this video. This is what we have in terms of instructions and information, and we have this question paper that we are going to look at. Firstly, you are supposed to go through the instructions that will be given in the question paper that you are looking at. Going to the first question that we have question one, whereby it reads, Mapule works in a local restaurant in her hometown. She earns 250 rands per week, plus tips from general customers. Below is her income and expenditure statement for the month of February. So you're given income, you're given expenditures. Moving down, we would want to see the first question that we have, which is write down your fixed expenses. But we know that the expenses section, we're given it on this part. So we are just going to try to identify a fixed expense according to the expenses that we have. But we know that fixed expenses do not change from one period to the other. They remain the same from one month to the other. So in other words, they are constant. So if you look there, the expense that can only be constant that we have is a rent, which is 300 rands. So that represents a fixed expense. So we are saying on the first part, we have a fixed expense as the response. So in terms of airtime, it can only be a fixed expense when it is indicated that it's a contract. It's a contract payment that is there of airtime, then it becomes a fixed expense. But in particular, it's not specified. So we are only going to pick our rent as the fixed expense. So we're saying 1.1.1, we have rent. Then we move on to the next part of our question, which is 1.1.2. Calculate your total income for the month of February. If February has 4 weeks, so if February has 4 weeks, what is the total income that is there? So you'd see that the income section we are having this side. So we are having 250 rands per week in terms of income, and then we have got tips for 1 month, which is 600. So of course, remember we have got 4 weeks in a month as we are calculating for the month of February. So we are saying 4 times the 250 per week, then we get the total, then we add the 600, that is the tips for 1 month. So that's exactly how we're going to calculate it. So we are saying 1.1.2, whereby we are going to say 250 rands times 4. Then we put in brackets, then the answer that we get, we add to the tips that we have, which is 600 rands. So we calculate it, we see what we get there. So if you say your 250 times 4, you're going to get your 1,000 rands. And then you add your 600, you are going to get a total of 1,600 rands. So this is the response that we have in terms of 1.1.2. So moving on to the next part of our question, which is going to be question 1.1.3. Calculate the total expenses for this month. So for the total expenses, we're going to come this side and we are going to add all the expenses that we have. We've got 150 rands plus 500 rands. Of course, we add again our 300 rands. We have got also airtime, which is 120 rands. So if we put down that calculation, whereby we are saying 1.1.3, whereby we are calculating total expenses. So we are saying it's equal to your 150 rands, and then you add your 500 rands. You add your 300 rands. After adding your 300 rands, you add your 120 rands. And then if you do that, the correct response the correct answer that you're supposed to get there becomes your 1,070 rands. So this is what we have on 1.1.3. So we move on to the next one, which is going to be 1.1.4, which says express the total expenses as a percentage of total income. Very simple. So total expenses is going to be the numerator, total income becomes the denominator. We multiply by 100 over 1. So we are saying our 1.1.4, we are saying total expenses according to the expression that we have. Total expense is a percentage of total income. So total expenses is the numerator. And then we have the denominator being your total income. Being your total income. Then we express as a percentage, which means you're multiplying by 100 over 1. So we'll refer back and see what we have in terms of total expenses. Total expenses, remember, we've got 1,070 is calculated here. Total expenses, and then we put 1,070 as our numerator. 1,070. So and then our denominator is total income, but we have calculated again total income. Here we got 1,600. So that is our denominator. So this is what we have, and then we multiply by 100 over 1. And then what do we get? We are going to get 67. If you calculate it correctly, let's see what you get there. So basically, it's 1,070 divided by 1,600. So you are going to get it as 66.875%. And of course, if you round it off to the nearest whole number, which is 6, we check here, we've got 8, which is in the range 5 to 9. So we change our 6 to become your 67. Your 6 changes to 7, we add 1 to 6, it becomes 67%. So this is the response that we have in terms of 1.1.4. We move on to the next one, which is now 1.2. So 1.2 is Mapule. Mapule plans to visit a cousin who stays in Johannesburg using a bus. The bus will leave the hometown at 0900 and will arrive at 14:30. I calculate the total time that the bus takes to arrive in Johannesburg. So to get the time, obviously, you have to express it in a 24-hour notation, which is the way it is expressed in this question. So we're going to say 14:30 minus 0900, and then we get your answer. So we are going to say on our answer section, this is now going to be your 1.2.1. So 1.2.1, remember we are saying 14:30 hours, subtract our 0900, 0900 hours. So we do it that way. We see that we are going to say 30 minutes minus 0 minutes, we get to 30 minutes. And then on the other end, 14 hours minus 9 hours, you get your 5 hours. So basically what we are saying is we have got 5 hours, 30 minutes. So it is equal to 5 hours, 30 minutes. So this is what we have in terms of our 1.2.1. So we move on to the next part of our question, which is going to be the last question on question 1. Convert the answer in 1.2.1 to minutes. So, but we know that this is now our 1.2.2. whereby we know that 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. So of course we have to change our hours to minutes. So it's going to be our 5 hours times 60. Then we get the total number of minutes that we have there. Then we add our 30 minutes that we have here. So with that, we see that this is what we have. So say 5 times 60, you're going to get it as 300. And then we add your 30. Your 30 minutes. So we are going to get your answer as 330 minutes. So this becomes your final answer. So this is what we have on 1.2.2. So we move on to the next part of our question, which is our next question, which is question 2. Question 2 reads, a local confectionery is spending 450 rands on electricity and water weekly. The cost of baking one loaf of bread is 4 rand, which includes labor and ingredients. A loaf of bread is sold at 6 rand 50. So a table below shows the weekly cost of baking loaves of bread. So you're given number of loaves as a row, and they're also given total cost in rands that we have. So we've also table B, which shows weekly income from selling loaves of bread. So this is the scenario that we have. Then with the information given, we can check in terms of the question that we have. The first question reads, write the formula to calculate the cost of baking loaves. Baking loaves. So the cost we have it on the first part. So we are saying on this first table, that's where we have got the cost. So the formula now, we see that we have got 450 that is being incurred at zero number of loaves, which means this is going to be fixed at every number of loaves that are going to be baked. We are going to incur 450 rand. So it's a fixed amount. Remember, the question requires us to come up with a formula. So basically, we are saying our 450 as the fixed cost that we have. So we are saying 2.1.1 it's equal to, the formula is equal to, we have got a fixed that is 450 rands. So we're going to say 450 rands plus the cost per loaf. The cost per loaf, we can just try to see. According to the information given, we're told that the cost of baking one loaf of bread is 4 rand. So we are going to say 4 rand times the number of loaves that are going to be baked. So this is what we have. Well, so we say 4 times um, 4 times the number of loaves. So in here we say, in brackets, we are going to say 4 rand times number of loaves. So basically, that's how we're going to come up with your formula. So that becomes your formula 2.1.1. We go to the next part, which is now our 2.1.2, determine the value of A and B. So value of A is the cost of baking bread. We know that this is our formula. So to find A when we are baking 300 loaves, it's now simple. We are now saying 2.1.2, which we are going to say 450 rands, which is this one is the fixed cost plus in brackets, we've got 4 rand times the number of loaves, of which number of loaves at A, we're given it as 300. So we multiply by 300. So we calculate it as such, we see that the number that other that we're going to get is 1,650 rands. So it's going to be 1,650 rands. So this is the response that we have in terms of 2.1.2. So moving on to the next part of our question, which is going to be B. We are also able to calculate our B. So on our B, very simple. It is we are now on the calculation. Remember, this was calculation of A. So now we are calculating B. So on B, we are saying it's now on the weekly income from selling loaves of bread. So we see that at zero number of loaves, we've got nothing. So it means it's a direct proportion that we have in terms of our number of loaves and total income. So we now check in terms of the income per loaf, which we are given as a loaf of bread is sold at 650, which means this is the income per loaf. So to get the income for 180 loaves, we're just going to say 180 times 6 rand 50, as simple as that. So we do a search and see what we get there, whereby we're saying whereby we are saying we have our 6 rand 50, and then we multiply by 650, then we multiply by the number of loaves that we have, which is 180. So we can do as such. So we are saying 6 rand 50, which we are given here at the beginning of the question as the income per loaf. We are having it here. And then we calculate by the number, which is 180. So we multiply by 180. So you're going to see that the answer that you're going to get there, if you multiply by 180, you're going to get 1,170 rands. 1,170 rands. So this becomes your answer. And we go to the next question, which is going to be our 2.1.3. Use the formula in question 2.1 to calculate the cost for baking 50 loaves. So the cost for baking 50 loaves, we already have the formula. Remember, we have the formula for the cost, which is 450 rands plus 4 rand times number of loaves. So this is now 2.1.3. So we are saying 2.1.3, whereby we are saying is 450 rands is the formula, plus in brackets we are saying 4 rand times number of loaves. That is the formula to find the cost times number of loaves. So with that now, we have our 450 plus the 4 rand times number, of which the number in particular, according to the question, we are given it as 50. So we multiply by 50. So we do that, we see what we get. So obviously we have to remove the brackets by saying our 4 times 50, and we see what we get is going to be 200. So it's simplified further, it becomes 450 plus 200 here, 200 rands. So we add the 2, you're going to see that the answer that we are going to get now becomes your 650. So this is the total cost for 50 loaves. Then we move on to the next part of our question, which is going to be 2.14. On the same set of x's, use the values from table A and B and the answer sheet provided to draw the graph illustrating the income and cost of baking loaves of bread. So you have to go to the answer sheet and try to see where you have the graph section, where you can come up with the curves for the costs and, of course, the income. So this is the typical graph that you're supposed to come up with, whereby we have got the costs. The cost curve, we have it here, and then this one becomes the one for income. So basically, we can start with the figure, the curve that we have for cost. So we see that the costs we started from this point, whereby we are having 500 just above, but we know that we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 5 points that are representing a range from 0 to 500, which means each one is 100. So we're saying at this point we have got 100, and here we have got 200, 300, and we have got 400. So basically, this is what we have, and then so we've got each point representing 100, 100, 100, going upwards. Then on the horizontal axis, we've got number of loaves, whereby we have got a range from 0 to 60. First point indicated is 60. So in between, we only have 1. So it means we are going to have a 30, and then we go a 60. We go to 90, then we go to 120. We add another 30 to get 150, and then another 30 to get 180 as we go on the horizontal axis. So we have to plot our points in terms of cost. Remember, at 0 number of loaves, at our costs, we are here. 0 number of loaves, we are having 450 rands as our cost. So this is exactly how it's indicated. That's the first point that we plot. We have got 0, and then the cost is 450, which is indicated by this point that we have there. So we can check here, it indicates 450 as indicated. because we are saying 100, 200, 300, 400, and then in between the 2 points, we've got the 50, making our 450. Then we plot another point that is going to indicate your 60 and 690. So your 60, we are here, and then we go up. You see that on the cost curve here, 690 just below your 700, because we are saying this is your 600, and this point represents your 700. So just below your 700, that's why you're going to have your 690, which is at this point. And then we plot the other points that we have. And of course, if you plot 2 points, obviously the curve is supposed to come up, since it's a straight line as indicated. So if you plot 2 points, you can come up with the curve, and then you can try to plot other points that we have. Then go to the income curve, whereby the first point is 0, 0, as indicated on our table, whereby we've got zero number of loaves, which is leading to total income to be 0, which is again indicated as the point of origin here, 0, 0. And then if you go to the far extreme end, we have got the point that is 300 loaves, which is coming up with the A that we calculated. If we check, when we calculated our A, we can just try to refer back. A, we got 1,650. So it means we have 300, and this one is 1,650. You see that is between this point and this point, which is our 650. And then if you join the 2 points, they come up with a straight line, which is also going to be in line with the points that we have. So if you try to plot these points, they will come out for the income for 60 loaves is 390. So it's indicated here, 390 just below your 400 here. Then you come up with a straight line. So this is the graph that we have. And of course, we've got a point of intersection. We've got a point of intersection whereby the total income is equal to total cost, which is at this point, which is at the equilibrium point, which is this one, where the two curves intersect. So we can also determine that it's at 180 loaves of bread. So the cost or income that we have there represents the break-even point. Then we move on to the next part of our question, whereby it reads, write the coordinates of the break-even point and in the context of the scenario to explain what it means. So break-even point, we know that this is the point that when we have our total expenses equal to total income, and we say this is the point where the profit is equal to 0, because the two are equal. Remember, to get the profit, we are going to say total income minus total expenses. So at this point, it's 0. So this is the intersection. We can clearly also deduce it from the tables that we have. Remember, we calculated our A, and we said our A, we got let's try to see. We calculated the figure that we have for our A, and we see what we get. And then we calculated our B. For our B, we got, let's just try to see, 1,170. So if you come here, you'd see that our B is 1,170. 1,170 rands. Which is the same figure that we have here. So that is the break-even point, whereby your total expenses was total income, which is 180. So the question says, if we go back to the question, it says, write the coordinates of the break-even point, and in the context of the scenario, I explain what it means. So the coordinates now, we go to the graph. Whereby we are saying the point of intersection is this one, whereby you've got 180 lobes. So you've got 180 lobes, and then if you go this other side, that's where you're going to get 1,170. So writing down the coordinates, we are saying this is now our question. 2.1.5, whereby we are saying coordinates are equal to, we've got 180 S2 1,170 rands. So this is indicating our coordinates, which is the point that we have at this point. So we have determined this one on this side to be 1,170 as indicated by the table. As we saw that that's when we have got total income equal to total expenses, that is 1,170. So this is what we have on that. So with that now, we see that this is what we have, and then the question also says explain what it means. So the explanation is that it means that both cost and income for baking and selling 180 loaves of bread is the same amount, which is 1,170. So this is the explanation that we are just going to give. So on the explanation part, we are saying it means that both cost and income it means that both the costs both cost and income for baking and selling 180 loaves of bread is 1,170. It's the same amount. It is the same amount, which is we've identified it as 1,170 rands. So this is the explanation that you're supposed to give on that part. And this is the last part that we have on question 2. And of course, we need to move to the next question, which is our question 3. So question 3 reads, below is a tea slip that Tatu got from a boutique after buying some clothes for herself. So we've got the tea slip that we have there that we just need to browse through. Then 3.1.1, how many items did Tatu buy? But so if you go back there, you're going to see that we've got the self-belted dress and also we've got the stripe topper top. That is the second one. So we've got 2 items that we can identify there. So we are saying on 3.1.1, we are saying 2 items. 2 items. We move on to the next part, which is saying calculate the total discount paid on the item that she bought. So total discount, we are going to say this is the discount that is applying to the stripe top discount, of which the stripe top we're having it here, which is this one. So we can calculate there by saying 33% of the figure that we have, which is 499 rands. So this is the discount that you're going to calculate. So on our other section again, we're having 3.1.2, whereby we're saying 33% is 33 over 100. And then we multiply by 499 rands. So we multiply by 499 rands. So we do calculate it as such and see what we get. So basically 33 over 100 becomes 0.33, and then we multiply by 499. So let's try to calculate it in that way, see what we get. And we are going to get it as 164 rand 67 cents. So your answer becomes 164 rand 67 cents. So this is basically the discount. The discount. So we go to the next part, which is saying calculate the total including VAT paid on this transaction. You are being told that the total excluding VAT is 768. So including VAT, we are going to include a percentage of VAT, which is supposed to be 15%. Remember, VAT is 15%, so we are going to say our 15%, that is our 3.1.3. whereby VAT is going to be 15%, 15 of 100 times the amount excluding VAT, which we are given is 768. So we multiply by 768 rands. Then the answer that we get, remember the question says calculate the total. You can go to the first one, next one. Calculate the total excluding the total including VAT paid on this transaction. So to get the total, we are supposed to add again the 768. So we add 768. So here is supposed to be plus 768. So we say 15%, which is 15 over 100, and then we multiply by 768. We're going to get it as 115 rands 20 cents. And then we add to 768. So we see what we get there. We get 883 rands 20 cents. So this becomes your answer, including VAT. So basically that's what we have. We move on to the next part, which say Tatu is a resident in the Pakisa municipality, and below is a tariff on a sliding scale that the municipality uses to charge for water charges. So fixed charge, if greater than 6 kiloliters, is equals to 870. Free for infrastructure, if greater than 6 kiloliters, obviously 7 around 15 cents. Then our first part is saying calculate the cost of Tatu if Tatu uses 35 kiloliters of water charge. So we are going to use the table that we are having here, whereby saying up to 6 kiloliters is 0. So it means the first 6 kiloliters we are not going to charge anything. So if you come here, this is of course our 3.2.1. So for the first 6 kiloliters, which is 0 to 6 kiloliters, it is equal to 0. And then we go to the table again. Now 7 kiloliters to 30 kiloliters, we are having, how many kiloliters are we having there? We're going to say 30 minus 7 plus 1 to get, because the 7 is also included. So we say 30 minus 7 plus 1, so that we include everything that is between, that is there up from 7 to 30. So if you say 30 minus 7, you're going to get a 23, then you add your 1, you get to get a 24. So it means we have got 24 kiloliters that we have from 7 to 30. So from 7 to 30, 7 to 30 kiloliters, we are saying we have got 24 kiloliters, and then we multiply by the charge that we have between of 7 to 30 is 6 rand 48. It is 6 rand 48 is indicated there. So we are going to multiply by 6 rand 48 and see what you get. So if you multiply 24, and then we multiply by 6 rand 48, you're going to get 155 rands 52 cents. Then we go to the next part. The next bed that we have is from 30 30.1 kiloliter. So we're saying 30.1 kiloliter to 60 kiloliters. So this is what we have. So we see that already we have got the first 6 that we have already taken. The first 6 with the 0 rands plus the 24 that we have here, we get to a 30. So the total kiloliters that we have in particular, we have 35. So already we have taken 30, so it means we are left with 35 minus 30, which is 5. So in this band, we are going to have only 5. So we say 5 times the charge that we have in that band, which is 16 rand, 16 rand 20 cents, as indicated here. So we are going to say 5 that is remaining times 16 rand 20 cents. So we say 5 times 16 rand 20 cents. So we do calculate it like that to see what we get. So we say 5 times 16 rand 20 cents, and we get 81. So we are going to get your 81 rands. So with that, we can now calculate to get the total, whereby we are now saying the total is now equal to 155 rands 52 cents, and then we add the 81 rands, and then you get your we'll see what we get there, whereby we say 81 and we add your 155.52. We get 236 rands 52 cents. 200 236 rands 52 cents. This is what we have. So to calculate, remember the question says calculate the cost of if tattoo uses 32 liters of water, of which we have got a fixed charge which is 8 rand 70, which you are also supposed to add. So we add a fixed charge which is 8 rand 70, and also we have the for the fee for infrastructure if greater than 6 kilometers, which is 7 rand 15. So we're also supposed to add that 7 rand 15. So we now add to get the total. So let's try to see 236 rands 52 cents plus 80 rands 70 cents plus 7 rand 15 cents. And you're going to get your 324 rands 37 cents. 324 rands 37 cents. So this becomes your total for the question, which is the total cost that we have. Then this is what we have on 3.2.1. We see that we have got a lot of marks that are on that question. We have got a total of 7 marks. Then move on to 3.2.2. Calculate the new fixed charge if it is increased by 15%. We know that the fixed charge is 8 rand 70. So if it's increased by 15%, we're going to say 15% of 8 rand 70. Then the answer that we get, we add to 8 rand 70. So basically that's what we have on that part. So this is going to be your 3.2.2, whereby we are saying new price, it is equal to, first of all, we say, remember, it's going to increase by 15%. So 15% is 15 over 100. And then we multiply by the fixed charge, which is 80 rand 70. And then the answer that we get here, we add to 8 rand 70. And then I will see what we get. So if you say 15 rand, 15% times 8 rand 70, let's see what we get. 15% times 8 rand 70, we are going to get 12 rand 12.11 to 2 decimal places, which is 12 rand 11 cents. And then we add to your 8 rand 70. So We calculate to see what do we get. We're going to get 92 rands, 81 cents. So this becomes the new price that we have on 3.2.2. And of course, we do need to move on to the next part. We have got, let's try to see. So we are done on this one. We move on to the last part of our question 3, which says, Ms. Sheko is fixing the roof of her house and has decided to take a personal loan of 120 rands from the bank. The bank will charge a 7.5% simple interest per annum. Calculate the total she will repay the bank after 3 years. So simple interest, remember, it doesn't change. It's different from compound. So we are saying 7.5% times 120,000 is how we are going to calculate it. Remember, this is our 3.3. So 3.3, we are saying 7.5%, which is this one, and 7.5% is 7.5 over 100. And then we multiply by the principal amount that we have, which is 120,000 rands. So with that, we get the annual interest. So we can just try to calculate it as such, whereby if you try to simplify it further, it becomes 7.5 divided by 100, it becomes 0.075. And then you multiply by 120,000. So we see what we get there. Then we get 9,000. So this is the annual interest. So basically we are saying this is the annual figure, and then if you go to the question now, the question needs for 3 years, after 3 years. So we multiply by 3. So it becomes 9,000 times 3, which will give you, if you multiply it by 3, obviously it will give you 27. So this becomes what we have on the last calculation that we have there on a simple interest. So with that, we can try to refer back to the question to see what exactly does the question require us to do. So the question says, calculate the total she will repay the bank after 3 years. Okay, so the total that will be repaid after 3 years, we are now adding the principal, which is 120. So to say total repayment. So on total repayment, we are now saying 120,000 plus 120,000 plus 27,000. Then you are going to get your 147,000. So basically, this is what we have on the last question that we have on 3.3, and of course, we still have to go to our question. The question 4 is, a couple has decided to give tokens of appreciation to all the people who will attend their wedding. They will use cylindrical containers and square containers as shown below to package the tokens. The diameter of the cylindrical container is 14 centimeters. So we're given the 2 diagrams, whereby the first question is write down the radius of the cylindrical container, but you're given that the diameter of the cylindrical container is 14 centimeters. So to get the radius, remember radius is equals to half diameter. So our half, we are going to multiply by the diameter that we are given as 14 centimeters. So multiply by 14. And of course, if you multiply, you're going to get your 7 centimeters. So this is what we have on the first part. And the second part now, it reads, show with calculations that the volume of the cylindrical container, of which the cylindrical container, we are having it here. The volume of the cylindrical container is 238.99 centimeters more than the volume of the container with the square base. So the container with the square base is this one. So basically, we are saying this side is equal to this side, as all the sides of a square are equal. So to get the you may use the formula volume is equals to pi r squared, where times h, where pi is equals to 3.142. So we are going to find the volume of the cylindrical container. The volume of the cylindrical container, and then we subtract it with the volume of the square base that we have here, and then we find if it is equal to 238.99. So we need to show that it is equal to 238.99. So the volume of the cylindrical container we are saying is pi r squared times h. So we are saying 4.1.2. We are saying pi r squared h, where pi we are given it as 3.142. So we are saying 3.142. We multiply by the radius, of which the radius, we have already calculated the radius into got 7 centimeters. So it's 7 squared. And then we multiply by the height. So the height we are given it is 24 centimeters here. So we multiply by 24. So this is what we have. And then if you multiply the volume becomes your 3,694.99 to 2 decimal places, cubic centimeters. Then we find the difference now between this volume that we have minus the volume that we are given here of 3,446 cubic centimeters. So we say difference is equals to, we have 3,694.99 cubic centimeters minus the one that we have here, which is 3,456. So we calculate it like that. And we see that the difference that we are going to get there, it is equal to 238.99 cubic centimeters. So this is exactly what the question is saying. We are going to verify that it is 238.99. So that's how we have verified it. And then with that now, we can move on to the next part whereby it now reads, determine A, the length of in centimeters of one side of the square base. You may use the formula volume of the box is equal to side times height. Volume of the box is equals to, of course, it's just supposed to be side squared. It's supposed to be side squared times height. Remember, the volume of a box is length times width times height, of which we've got two sides that are equal, so it goes side squared times height. So we come here, we say 4.1.3, whereby we are saying side squared times height, of which our side is the one that we are looking for, as they are saying determine the length of centers of one side of the square. So we are saying we are looking for our side, which is our A. We can just present it as A squared. And then we are given that volume is 3,456. 3,456, so it's equal to 3,456. So basically, we know that our h, we have it. So we are saying a squared times our h, which is we are given as, we can check according to the information that we have. Our height our height, as we are given, is 24 centimeters. Was 240 millimeters. If we divide it by 10 to convert it to centimeters, it becomes 24 centimeters. Remember, 1 centimeter is equals to 10 millimeters. So that's why we have divided by 10 to get 24 centimeters. So in this case, our height becomes 24 centimeters. So we are multiplying by 24 equal to 3,456. So to get our a squared, we divide by 24 both sides. So it becomes 3,456 divided by 24. You take 24 the other side, it becomes a division. So with that, it becomes a squared. If you divide this side, you are going to get your answer as 144. 144. And of course, now you find the square root of both sides. In other words, we are saying square root of a squared, you're going to get it as a. Square root of 144, you're going to get it as O. So that makes our a equal to 12. Remember, the question is saying, determine a, the length in centimeters. So it's going to be 12 centimeters. So this is what we have on the calculation on that part.